All righty, we are back with our live festivities for Sunday evening, which is the Last of Us watch party, followed by a Last of Us after show discussing the very episode we just watched. Last week we had our first episode, went pretty well, no technical issues. Knock on wood, there won't be any tonight. And more importantly, we had a really solid episode. I wasn't blown away by last week as we talked about. If I'm looking up and down, it's playoffs time. I'm a big basketball fan, so I'm watching the Heat and Cavs right now. But we will be locked in less than 5 minutes when the episode drops. But as I talked about last week, solid episode. Nothing too crazy happened. Good way to establish the season, but word on the street, and like I mentioned last week, I wasn't given the screeners to watch the season early, but from what I hear, we're in for a doozy tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I'm hearing that this is out of the 7 episodes we get this season. This is, from all accounts, from what I hear, the biggest episode of this, potentially the biggest episode. One of 2 potentially big. I think it was 2 and 5. I think critics were saying were like the big ones. But nonetheless, y'all ready? Y'all ready for tonight? Last week we saw Abby and her crew outside the gates of Jackson, and also establishing the tension between Joel and Ellie. We see that the not only are there threats outside besides the infected, but also Abby, but also inside of Jackson, that fungi is starting to grow, that cordyceps. So it looks like it's all coming ahead tonight, or at least the beginning of some tragedies and some crazy stuff going on. So I'm excited, man. We're less than 4 minutes away from tonight's episode, and I'm really intrigued to see what this big episode has to offer for us. But before we get into, again, we're a couple minutes away. Say what's up to everyone in the chat that's joining me live. Tony was here earlier, or first thing in the morning, left a comment in preparation for tonight's stream. We got radio in here. Ain't it supposed to come out later? Is it? I don't think so. I think it's supposed tonight, regularly scheduled program. But let me double check. Maybe I should do this when we went live, but I thought it was just regular old schedule. But I mean, it is WrestleMania. I don't know if they would affect. No, 8:00. I'm looking at their schedules tonight. I know, like I said, it's playoffs and the WrestleMania, but the show puts up big numbers, so I'm not afraid of WrestleMania. What's up, Zia? What's up, Kevin? How we doing? What's up? Man, it's a really good game right now, guys. I don't know if you go. And by the way, if you all celebrated, happy Easter to everyone out there. Also, happy 420 for any of those that participate. But no, happy Sunday in general too to you all. But yeah, happy Sinners weekend. Isn't that funny? Sinners came out Easter weekend. I don't think that was an accident. What's up, Justin? How we doing? Ellie's annoying already. Abby coming. Tarian Rain, what's going on, man? What's up, Elliot? It feels weird watching The Last of Us West Coast time tonight, 6 p.m. instead of 9. That is strange. I've always been an East Coast guy. So yeah, I've always been like Central Time or what have you. So yeah, that is kind of weird. That would be hard to adjust to those times when you're so used to it a certain way. The episode is already up. LOL. What? All right, let me get the situation situated. Yeah, Miami's done for the night. Any basketball fans out there? Who you got winning the championship this year? If you're a fan. Is it on? Let me see. Last of Us. Come on. There we go. Nope, that's not it. Is it here? I don't have it on my end. Unless there's, here it is. We got 1 more minute, so let me get this set up here. And we'll get this party started. Again, thank y'all for joining me. Y'all know the drill. All the YouTube stuff, like, share, comment. We'll be live after the episode, of course, doing our watch party. So that will be tonight's agenda. Get that. Make it large. There we go. Alrighty. Y'all know the drill. I'm gonna press play, let the trailers play, let the previously on play, and obviously I won't be showing the episode due to copyright reasons, but we are gonna enjoy this together. It is 8 o'clock. Let me go ahead. So as soon as I press play, that means I'm pressing play on the episode. Again, I'm gonna play the trailers, play the previously on, and keep it all synced up. So with that said, pressing play in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pressing play now. Ooh, what's this? Showing all the hits. Oh, by the way, they're showing The Pit. I got 2 more episodes left in The Pit. Oh my goodness. What a show. What a show. What a freaking show. You guys aren't watching The Pit, highly recommend it. I'm also watching prepping for my review for any U fans out there. U season 5, the season finale. Started watching that last night. And then of course, this has been a Sinners weekend. All things Sinners. Probably got a couple more videos for that coming out this week. So long term. What is this? Is this a? They showing Minecraft on here already? Smart for them. Whatever this little HBO sizzle reel is, smarter than ending on The Last of Us. Good marketing. What's going on, Bobby? Ready to rock, Justin? Alrighty, y'all. Sinners is elite. I normally wait. Yeah, it is elite, but I love horror, so I was all about it. Haven't seen yet Sinners yet. Oh, definitely highly recommend it, Justin. Let's do this. Yeah. Yeah, right now is it's just showing last week's episode previously on. Also, we got some Pit fans in here. Let's say Pit is so good. I'm on the episode with them. Yeah, that way it was. I don't even want to get too much. Okay, here we go. Episode start. I was gonna do the trailer, or the theme intro. Yes, that episode that Vic's talking about, incredible. The Pit was a little stressful. Yeah, it's very stressful, but it was so damn good. Well, like up to where I am, like so I think I'm episode 12 or 13 out of 15. It's a really good show. Super excited. I'm gonna probably do. I was late to the party, so I didn't cover season 1. But that might change for season 2 next year. That might change. Big fan. Make sure my subtitles are on right quick. There we go. All right, let's get it. Episode has just started. Oh, this must be a flashback. Yeah, this is a flashback to season 1 after Joel took out all the fireflies. Is that Abby talking to Abby? Yeah. She's having a dream. And again, full disclosure, I haven't played the game as I talked about last week, but I'm familiar with certain story beats. And if you all notice, who she kept saying he's in there, he's dead, his brain. So she's talking about someone, and particularly, obviously, last week showed us there was someone that Joel killed that meant something to her. So it's all, building her character and getting a perspective of where Abby's coming from on her vengeance for Joel. Fortress. Yeah, that's what I think. The ultimate, they're gonna probably fake their way in. I am curious to know. Obviously, we know Abby has her agenda for Joel for what he did last season, but I'm assuming the rest of her crew experienced similar losses that they would want to be risking their lives for killing one person or trying to kill one person in Joel. And also, too, I'm just thinking in my head, like, you're in like a quote unquote apocalyptic situation. Is getting revenge on someone really top of priority? Which makes you know that she's really, really pissed. Jesse? Oh boy. I'm glad Jesse's mature about it. Don't get this petty fight. Oh, we didn't. That's something we didn't see last week. So I wonder if we're gonna see that moment. The fact that they're adapting, yeah, a bigger fish to fry instead of petty infighting. Forewarning: my power goes out. That could be a possibility. It's raining like crazy out here, but fingers crossed, we'll be good. Just to clarify, I might have missed it while setting this up. Hold on. Oh, Seth, more of this guy. Mm, not bad. Fresh steak sandwiches. Um, Humans will be humans. That's true. What I was saying earlier was I might have missed a line of dialogue. Did they say something on the lines of like with the snow and the ice? defrosting, that there might be an unknown herd out there or something like that. And that's what they're patrolling. Or did I totally make that up? That's what I'm saying, Ricky. A steak sandwich. You know, I'm a vegetarian, but a vegetarian vegan alternative steak sandwich sounds pretty good. Did I make that up, guys? Did they say something about like there's like with the snow defrosting that there's like a potential spot that might have some infected that was under the ice? What's going on in my chair? Don't tell me that Joel and Dina are gonna be in their they're walking to the lion's den. Dude, that is beautiful. Where is this at? It's beautiful. That's what he's okay. That's what I thought. So I just didn't. The infected are using the dead as installation and Tina's. Well, okay, cool. Freezing room. It's gorgeous. They said potential. Okay, thank you. That's what I thought. I just think I was talking or setting something up and just want to clarify. It looks like there's a storm coming in too. Speaking of a storm, it is coming down out here, y'all. Again, hopefully power don't go out. Feel like Game of Thrones vibes right now on the watch. Long night. That's what I'm saying. Definitely some Game of Thrones vibes. Oh, that's where they're shooting in British Columbia in Canada. Oh, okay, cool. It's beautiful out there. Pass on a Philly cheesesteak. Oh, Eugene is Gail's deceased husband. Oh, wait a minute. Eugene was a firefly, and we know Joel killed Eugene. Oh, snap. Hold on. 420. Just early on. Quit back in 2010. Wait a minute. This is some history between Joel and Eugene. There we go. Couldn't be saved. Did he get bit like we speculated about last week? Because everyone that played the games say that Eugene is kind of, I don't know, say a throwaway character, but it was just like a background character that was briefly mentioned. But they obviously Gale's a new created character for the show, so some history there. I was thinking Eugene might have known the secret about what Joel did and was going to tell people, but he killed him. But it's something that was, he said put him down, so it's not like he was infected. He was the plug. Oh, the captain from Joe, the Bad Boys. That's who's Eugene. That's dope. Didn't Eugene know Isaac? I don't know who Isaac is. 'Cause again, I haven't played the second game. If I remember correctly, I think um, Jeffrey Wright's going to be playing Isaac, who's a villain, right? If I'm not mistaken. That's what you thinking, Vic? Yeah, that Eugene knew with Joel. That's what I'm thinking. But they say he left the Fireflies in 2010. This show takes place in 2025, so it would have been 15 years ago. And what Joel did was 5 years ago. So, I mean, he could still have connects and Fireflies potentially. He doesn't show up. That's what I thought. Oh, snap. Is the Avalanche about to happen? 2028. Yeah, I think so. So that would have been 18 years ago when he left. That is awesome. That is terrifying. I have a thing. Y'all know I'm a horror fan, but the things that get under my skin is just weird. But when the villains, whether zombie or werewolves, whatever, when they're running after people, I don't know, people being chased by something like zombie herd just freaks me out because I just put myself in a position like, what would you do if you're being chased by a herd of infected? Very much World War Z vibes right now. Oh my goodness. Okay, that is horrifying. I would just give up. Can you imagine? What is it? To the gate. That is so terrifying. I love this. Like that, just this whole visual scenario is so good. One of them got through. Don't tell me Joel's about to save the girl that wants to kill. It's Joel. Does she? I don't even think she knows what Joel looks like, right? You gotta be shitting me. He saves her. And she says, Joel. she described him. She has a description only, but I mean, she knows now because he just said. I mean, some multiple people could be named Joel, but you gotta be shitting me. He saves the girl that wants to kill him, and he's about to go into the lion's den. You talk about terrible circumstances. How does that happen? And then she got Dina Angel. Yeah, she's trying to lure him up there. Goodness. Dude, I'm about to show y'all my dog. He looks so cute right now. Nah, I don't want this too much. He's so distracting because he's so adorable. Don't don't confuse with cuteness. All right, we got lock in. We got lock in. He's adorable. Oh, we lock in. Oh my goodness, this is. Oh, they see us, and okay. At least I thought that was gonna be like a long. They were gonna find out much longer in the season. LOL. I like that line that he said he would run Jackson one day. A bit of foreshadow. Who said that? Justin, Jesse, or Tommy? Damn. Where did all where did all these infected people come from? Holy shit! It's straight up Game of Thrones, for real, for real. Like, I guess I'm just confused. I'm like, this isn't their first winter, so like, was it just accumulating? Oh, like, I mean, I'm aware that this world is obviously infected, but I'm just shocked on this amount of infected people were just up the street, and it would have accumulated over the winter season. I hate to sound like a broken record, but this is very much giving me Game of Thrones vibes, and I wouldn't be surprised if they got, obviously this is based on a video game, but I'm saying from live action, they probably got some inspiration from the the episode live action episode of Game of Thrones to pull this off. Makes sense. What they were attracted to the roots, maybe. Jakarta's is needed for real. I mean, they about to get some fire going. But yeah, they could use a dragon right now for real. Jakarta's. Goodness gracious. And to start shooting, laying waste. That's crazy how far we've come in television. I mean, I mentioned Game of Thrones quite a few times, and that was almost a decade ago. But just this is cinematic. Ooh, I'm assuming those are barrels of gasoline. This is genius. Um, are y'all watching this? This is incredible. Video of part two video game gamers out there. Was this in a game? This is incredible. I would imagine if you were playing this in a game, this would be like you're locked in right now. This is very immersive. I wish I was watching this in a theater right now. Holy moly. And I love the parallels of like these big threats, obviously on a bigger scale in Jackson, and then on a more personal scale with Joel. These parallel stories going on right now. It's a great way to depict violence on a big scale and a small scale. Where are they running towards? shout out to the production team. This is incredibly huge in scale. And as I say huge, here comes a bloater. This is crazy. Oh my goodness. Got the Ghostbusters. I'm in all right now. Oh my goodness. I'm like the Martin Scorsese meme. This is epic cinema, peak, all the adjectives. Is Tommy about to die? There goes the neighborhood. Wow. 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 Oh, he's gonna burn one of the buildings with the people inside. Dude, is Tommy? I'm probably being a terrible host, but this is incredible. Oh my goodness. I mean, you gotta start parkouring, Tommy, to jump on the thing. Is it not even working? It's funny him using his fire because I don't know if y'all know he was Ghost Rider and Agents of Shield. It's funny seeing him using his fire. He was also a Terminator. Dude, is Tommy about to mark? About to shit. I think this is. I might be wrong. I think this is new. This is all new stuff and not video game stuff. There you go, Tommy. Shoot it. Yeah, shoot it in the head. Make sure it's dead. Holy moly. What these dogs gonna do besides get infected? Oh, seriously, what are these dogs gonna do? They can't eat their brains. Let me shut up. These are freaking. let me let me shut up. I got a little Pomeranian Pekingese, so I got a little dog, so you ain't doing that. God damn. Oh man. Joel saved Abby. That's so messed up. And she's still gonna wanna she goes, and he goes, Joel. Oh my Lord, have mercy. I'm shaking in my boots right now. Full disclosure, I told y'all last week I didn't play the game, but there's things I know about the game. And I am shocked that this is happening so soon. The events that are transpiring right now. Yep. Consequences, actions have consequences. Yep. Damn. So she's 5 years older than Ellie. Hmm. He can't defend himself, so you're gonna break your rule. So Kaylin Devers is doing her. Oh shit. This is devastating. No matter whose side you're on. Yeah, she's acting her ass off right now. I've seen the cut scene of what we're looking at. They've added. There's definitely a little bit more nuance. Her punching jaw, I think, is new. A new added. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think her punching him is something new. She's like a serial killer. Yeah. Can't believe they're doing it so soon. I'm right there with you. I was for certain this was a season finale moment. He's trying to get up, dude. I'm trying not to tear up right now. Oh wow. Wow. That's definitely different from the game. She just hits him with the club one last time, but to stab him in the neck like that, that's almost just as visceral and damn. Jesus, man. Wow. The balls on HBO. Or not even HBO, but the creators to do it this soon. Am I tripping? That was her breathing, right? That wow. He's out of there. I thought I heard someone breathing. I mean, it's probably her, but it sounded like it was more wheezing than anything. Wow, wow, wow. Is that Tommy or Jesse? It's probably Jesse because It was Jesse. He got his body. Wow. Couldn't put him on the back of Dina's horse. It feels a little weird, but damn, y'all. Wow. Wow. He'll be fine. Yeah, I hear you, Vic, but it's still like, I don't want the man to be dragging in the snow. So, what do you even say? What do you even do at this point? So like I told y'all, big fan of the first game. Unfortunately, I haven't played the second game. But being such a fan of the game, the series, I was aware of certain things with part 2, and this was one of the things I was aware of. And I've seen the cutscene, and from what I remember, obviously similar things happen. I think Tommy was with them in the video game, like he was in the room when this happened, but obviously that was different. I know we'll talk about it in the after show, the differences, but there's definitely some different things that they did that I think might have actually been more visceral, if I'm being honest. But again, we'll talk about that in the after show. Just watching the after credits now and seeing the trailer for next week. But that was one of the big things I knew going into this season, that Joel was going to die. But I tell you what, I did not think it was going to happen this soon. Like that's like Game of Thrones level of a big death so early in the season, and the rest of the season is the aftermath. I see this trailer. Oh wow. We will be having the after show tonight. I'm just watching the trailer, and then we'll talk about the episode in a few after I take my dog out and stuff. Now she's going to be on the path of vengeance. Wow. Ned Stark level, yeah. There go your ratings. All right, now they're doing the after show thing. All right, y'all. This will conclude tonight's watch party, but we will be having our after show to debrief, to have some therapy to talk about tonight's big loss. And I know Martin says there go to ratings, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about what this means for the show moving forward. But I'm gonna take a quick little commercial break, bathroom break, and take my dog out, and then we'll be back. Same stream. We won't have to go anywhere. We'll be in the same stream, and we'll talk about it. So I'll see you guys in a little bit, about 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and talk about what all went down tonight, which was the death of Joel. All right, y'all. So I will see you in a little. Guys, we're back. We are back. Where do I want to be? I'm going to be in the corner. I'm going to be over here chilling. Welcome back, everyone, to our live after show discussing The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 2. I don't know the name of I think it's Through the Valley is the name of tonight's episode. Only way through it is, only way to cope with this is through this. Yeah, the screenshot. Nice. Yeah, it's the truth. It's how we got to move through it. I might leave this on the whole time, because we got to push through. We got to. Now, let me get this off the screen because this is stuff of nightmares. Tonight, we are discussing I would say finale. We're only on the second episode. We are discussing the second episode, season 2 of The Last of Us, titled "Through the Valley." An episode that I knew was coming, inevitably, as I mentioned to you all last week, and we'll do like we did last week. I'm gonna cut this out and cut it up to and re-release it tomorrow as a edited version of this breakdown. So we'll get all that situated here in a second. Still grieving, yeah. Canceling HBO soon. But we're here to discuss it all. Again, I'm gonna as I did last week, I'm gonna have some screen grabs from the episode, have it screen by screen, talk through it, share my thoughts on it, predictions. Again, not having played the game, where we know where the story goes, but how does the show operate without a main character as big as Joel? So we'll talk about that tonight and see if we can find some silver lining in all this. Wow, we're gonna talk about it. Let me get the screen situated here, and we'll break it all down. Again, spoilers if you're watching this. I'm assuming you saw the episode, or if you just happen to click on this video on YouTube, we will be discussing this episode, breaking it down, key scenes, key moments, sharing a little bit of my knowledge, what I know about the game versus how the episode played out, and so on and so forth. So with that being said, let me do my little intro. Again, I'm going to cut this up tomorrow for it could be like a breakdown, but I'm going to obviously be here live with you all, and super chats. If you guys have questions, we'll answer that towards the end, but I'm going to break down the episode, answer some questions if some super chats come through. If not, we'll just have a Q&A at the end and go from there. But with all that being said, welcome, y'all. We are here. This is tonight's after show for episode 2 of The Last of Us, which was titled Through the Valley. And boy, did we go through a valley tonight, y'all. What an episode. We were only on the second episode of this season. We have 6 more, but this felt like a finale. And by all accounts, not only am I referring to the Joel situation, which we'll talk about, but obviously the stuff that went down in Jackson, the bloaters, Tommy, the cinematic situation that we have going on as far as just the tone and the mood and how big and scale and how emotional this episode was. So we're going to break it all down in this discussion of this episode. Before we do so, do all the YouTube stuff, the likes, the shares. More importantly, we're shooting this live, but obviously you're seeing this in an edited version. Let me know your thoughts about the episode in the comments below. How would you rate this episode? For my video game fans out there, comparing, not one being better, but how did this episode did it recapture the moment that you all felt while playing the game for the first time? Was there something new that you enjoyed? Let's talk about that in the comments. But let's just get right into it. Let's break down this episode, y'all. So first thing first, let me our first scene here with Abby, and I think something that this show, and again, I would love to have this conversation with the video game people that are familiar with it, the nuances of Abby. I'm not sure if this opening scene is in the video game, but again, it's given us that baseline. It's given us that foundation of where Abby's coming from. I played the game whenever it came out, but I think I was watching The Walking Dead prior to when I played the video game for the first time. And the thing that was going through my head while watching this episode and watching Abby's journey in this episode and just the journey we've seen so far, I kept thinking about Rick Grimes, right? And I kept thinking about what if this was Rick in this situation, and Carl and Lori, again, there's a lot of comparisons to Walking Dead and The Last of Us, but I kept thinking about that. What if they switched up the governor's backstory or Negan's backstory and you had this, or if this was Rick, if this was putting this in the situation, what if this was Carl, right? And Joel killed Rick, and this was Carl that was on this journey, Carl going after someone that killed Rick, Governor Negan, you name it. And it's putting you in that position of Abby. And obviously we get the big reveal. And this was something I knew about, again, not having played the game, but I knew that Abby lost her father, and that was the doctor was her dad, which is a crazy coincidence that how that all shook out. But we open this episode with Abby having this dream, right? Or in this case, a nightmare, the worst day of her life. She reimagined, I'm gonna imagine this is a recurrence, or maybe the closer she got to Joel, she's having this PTSD and having these visions of what happened that day that she found her father's brains on the floor. This has to be something that haunts her. And like I said, I would imagine the closer and closer they got to Jackson, the closer and closer she got to Joel, this anger, this hatred, this vengeance is just consuming her. And again, if season 1, game 1 was about forgiveness, rebirth, acceptance, trying to move on in this apocalyptic world, then this will be looked at. Season 2 so far is all about vengeance. We saw Abby's, she's got her friends in the mix. We see what's going to happen with Ellie later in this episode. So this is a story about allowing your vengeance to consume you and to make rash decisions, like we'll talk about later. But again, I think this episode in the season so far has given us, and again, for my game players out there, let me know if I'm right or wrong in saying this, but I think the show may have been giving us a little bit more nuance to Abby, giving us a little bit earlier on her backstory, getting a sense from the audience of her position, right or wrong. Obviously, we're rooting for Joel, we're rooting for Ellie, but it's putting us in her shoes. Again, my Carl, Rick Grimes situation, switching the audience on its head and trying to make you not, condone her actions, but makes you understand where she's coming from. You know what I'm saying? So I like how they established that very early on. And also I like the look of to two Abbies. You can tell this was 19-year-old Abby, as she says later on. It was 19 when this incident happened, when she lost her father, and obviously now 5 years later. And again, as we see establishing this is something, we see her waking up from this, and this is what's driving her. The vengeance, the hate, the revenge, and man, it all comes. I sound like a broken record last week, but again, your actions have consequences. And we saw what those consequences were for Joel, but what will these consequences be for someone like Abby after what she did? And something I do want to mention, that this episode that I've been kind of curious about is this whole situation with her group. We find out some more information about them later. They've been in Seattle. They've kind of built this bond over time. I don't know if any of them experienced as big of a loss as Abby did. I'm referring to the rest of her, Owens and all those group of people that she's with. If they lost someone that was, a Firefly member, or if it's just like, again, they built this bond, and based on the story that Abby tells later about their leader, who I'm assuming is Isaac, if I'm not mistaken, who's going to be played by Jeffrey Wright, who also played the character or voiced the character in the video game. But they live by this code. So I wonder if they're just following Abby blindly just to kind of abide by their rules, abide by her vengeance, and they want to support her, or if they lost someone as close or someone important to them just as much as they did, to Abby. I don't think any of them, rest of the crew, lost like a family member, but maybe a mentor, or maybe someone that, taught them the ways of the Fireflies when they were younger. So I am curious to know if there is any backstory that's going to come with the remaining group members and, in the future, to kind of understand why they were so, let's kill this man that killed your father. Let's go through the mountains, go through, run into hordes. Let's go into the, the freezing cold to get your vengeance. So I wonder if there is more backstory to explore there with the rest of our characters. You got some great actors too in these roles. So I'm very curious to know if there is more to their story. But to set up this whole plan right now, they wake up, they realize that this isn't just an easy mission. Their intel, they were under the assumption that Jackson was maybe a couple tents, a small group of people, but they find out this is a whole village. And this mission to get Joel is going to be a lot harder than they initially planned. I mean, there's dogs, there's watch, they have their guards, they have the perimeter secured. So they're now trying to come up with an idea of how we can get into the situation. And as they're kind of talking about, we can maybe infiltrate our way in, gain their trust, which I thought, again, I'm going to say this now. Again, knowing that this was going to happen, but I did not think that they were going to do it this soon in the show. Like, I'm thinking this is honestly, I was thinking this is episode 6, potentially episode 7, leading into season 3, but they gave it to us now. So I am shocked that they had it happen so soon and so early. But man, that's shocking to me, if I'm being honest, that this happened so soon. But again, they're setting up the scenario, how we're going to get in, what we're going to do, and again, you just see, no matter all the obstacles, all the things that they say, Abby's just like, whatever we got to do to figure this out, we're going to figure it out. I am going to, no matter what, hell, snow, infected, you name it. Nothing's going to stop me from killing Joel. That vengeance, that is a strong hatred, man. And I would imagine this is just I don't want to say foreshadowing, but this is definitely setting up. If we can see this level of anger and revenge, and this is driving her, I would imagine Ellie's going to probably have that same level of aggression, same level of payback, same level of commitment to getting her payback. So that, again, this whole story so far and seeing where that leads, and there are actions to the consequences. So I'm loving how they're setting this up and how they're putting this together so far. Before moving on, let me see what you guys are talking about in the chat before we continue on. Let's see. Coral. Did y'all like my Game of or Walking Dead analogy? I kept thinking about Ned Stark. Yeah, that's definitely a great comparison there with Game of Thrones. This is the way worse in the game. My heart was really broke from what was happening at Jackson to the cabin at the resort. Yeah, again, we'll talk about this further as we move along to the breakdown, and maybe we'll have a Q&A towards the end to kind of interact with the gamers out there. But I am curious to know, like, what was that visceral effect towards the gamers versus someone like me that's watching it for the first time? Like, did one movie more than the other? Obviously, playing the game is different from witnessing it, because in the game, you're obviously playing it and you're in it and you're, and truly immersed in the moment. But I am curious if there's like an effect, especially if you know what happens. Like, did it live up to those expectations? You want to call it that? Did it divert expectations, exceed expectations? So I am curious to know how the gamers out there felt about how they handled tonight's big moment. Seems like Abby's group hasn't had to kill many people. That's what it seemed like. They seemed very, especially the one young lady, she seemed very hesitant to do all the stuff they were doing. Yeah, we'll talk about that, Kevin, as far as like just how messed up is that? How messed up is that? It happened early in the game too. Gotcha. So they're sticking to the script. Sounds like gotcha. Let me set up the next portion here of the breakdown before moving on. But yeah, again, I would love, and for my gamers out there, please, without spoiling further things that's going to happen in the story, but just focusing on tonight's events, continue to pour your thoughts in and chat, interact with each other to kind of let people like myself who haven't played the game let us know, like, yeah, man, this was spot on, or this was different, or this is the same. So definitely share those thoughts and have those conversations in the comments below. We'll love to get that insight from that perspective, which I always always love to hear. Let's see. I will say, let's get to this scene here early on in this relationship that I'm kind of happy that they're not going, I guess, where I think they were going. Early on in the episode, we see from the night before with the party and the whole situation going on with the three, where I thought was a love triangle, and who's to say that it might not still grow into that. But early on, we see Jesse trying to wake up Ellie to do her patrol, because obviously that's something they sticking to a regiment, sticking to a plan, and patrolling out the outskirts to protect their town of people. But I was in the mindset that Jesse was going to maybe be a little jealous after hearing what he heard, what happened last night in their world the night before with Ellie and Dina kissing each other. And at first he was kind of like, I heard what happened, and Ellie's like, oh, I apologize. Dina had a couple, she was smoking last night. It didn't mean anything. And he's being funny about it. And the reason I bring this up is because stereotypically, and again, correct me if I'm wrong for the game players out there, but I thought there was a level of like jealousy, resentment, hatred towards Ellie with Dina in this triangle situation. But and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that they're diverting from that. If that is the case from the video game, if Jesse was maybe upset, maybe jealous, maybe had hatred towards Ellie with Dina kissing her, and them obviously, I would assume they're gonna grow into a relationship. But I like that Jesse's just like, listen, it is what it is. We've broken up. I have no hard feelings. So I actually kind of like that he's not the stereotypical ex-boyfriend storyline that they're going. Again, it could divert to that. I don't know, but so far it looks like he's just a pretty chill guy and has moved on and I'm supportive of this new relationship, even though it involves his ex and someone that I assume he cares for, and Ellie, and they seem to have a really good bond. So nothing huge, narratively speaking, but I just like that they aren't doing what I thought they were going to do, which was going to be this whole Jesse's going to now have it out for Ellie and try to, mess up her situation and get in the way and whatnot. But, he's a pretty chill guy. As of right now, again, things might change. Who knows? But as of right now, it doesn't look like he's too upset and doesn't look like the story is going that direction, which I'm excited for because I like when things are not, handed to us or we've seen it 1,000 times before. So I appreciate that. But as we kind of, again, setting up this episode, the whole idea of this is it seems like there is a storm coming, but also the snow's kind of calmed down. The ice is kind of melting. And they mention that with the ice melting that they want to patrol to make sure that there isn't any infected that's out there outside the gates that might be defrosting, that might have accumulated. So they're just, checking everything out, which is what we see coming to fruition a little bit later. But that's kind of the setup of what brings our characters where characters are. Joel at this point is with Dina. They're out doing that patrol, seeing the perimeter, seeing if there is any threats out there that's defrosting from the snow. And obviously we have Jesse and Ellie going out to do their patrol. So it's all, setting up this thing. But at the same time, we know, and this is the beauty of the show, not only do these characters have to worry about the threats of the infected, but they also have to worry about the humans. And in this case, Abby and her crew. So it's, setting up this kind of collision course of separating our characters and positioning this episode in the way that it does, which is what you would hope good storytelling is put the puzzles to the pieces, or in this case, the chess pieces on the board, and it explains why certain characters are around and what have you. And also, too, I don't want to leave out the fact that the Joel and Dina went out on their own, which again just kind of puts us in this position to let us know that Joel and Dina had their own, bond and relationship. And there's Ellie's not going to be the only one. Obviously, Tommy, Maria, those characters will be affected by the death of Joel. But someone like Dina, I wonder if his death will put a dent or a fraction or what have you between Ellie and Dina, because she was with him when he died. Obviously, Ellie was there too, but I'm just curious on how Dina is going to be affected by Joel's death. Because like I said, it seems that they have established early on that there's a bond that they've established, which is going to be interesting. But again, the whole setup, the town is preparing this somewhat of a drill that they're setting up, but they also want to, get their ducks in a row and set up the plan. If it hits the fan, this is where you go. This is the scenario. This is the breakdown. So again, it's smart writing where it's gearing us up as an audience to what's to come, but also the characters are being prepared for what's to come. So it's kind of a nice narrative to kind of put us in the position of the characters where, oh yeah, this is just a normal thing that we normally do and getting everything set up. But little do they know, little do we know, especially if you haven't played the game like myself, that it's just about to go down, unfortunately, in a major way. But again, and you knew this was going to happen. Last week was a great, even though last week to me didn't blow the doors off the handles as far as just what we got last week. It was more of a build up, setup, catching us up with everyone 5 years later from season one. But it was almost too good. Everything was moving too good. There was no major situations going on. So they really prepped us to let us know that this is not a world that good things don't last long, obviously, in this type of apocalyptic situation. But speaking of things not lasting long, there seems to be an apology or an understanding from Seth here, who obviously last week had some inappropriate words to say towards Dina and Ellie after their kiss, and having him apologize. I remember I was reading an article about this, and they said that Seth might have a backstory. I don't know if this is alluding to that or if there's more to the Seth character. And again, for my video game characters out there, players, I don't know if Seth has a big story, if he apologizes to Ellie like he does here, but I thought it was kind of interesting to kind of show us that he did apologize. He actually made her a sandwich. And again, I don't know if Seth's someone that's going to be important moving forward, but it was, nice to see. I don't know Seth from the game, and I don't know if there's more to the story, and I don't know if this is just him saving face or if this is genuine, but, and he claims he was drunk when he said it, but we'll see if there's more to Seth moving forward between these characters and if there's anything else to explore. But if not, again, I just, I like when a-holes at least have the cojones to at least apologize, even if it's not genuine. At least it's nice to know that there is a little bit of hope for terrible people like Seth saying things like he did last week. But as we move along in this episode, again, it's setting all the pieces and it's building to this moment, as we'll talk about. And trust me, we'll get to the action here in a bit, but just setting the stage for, how the show sets up everything that we saw tonight. When we see, and it's just like one of those situations, like wrong place at the wrong time. We know that Joel and Dina are out patrolling, and it just so happens that, again, Abby doesn't care what's outside. She's trying to figure out a way to get into Jackson. And she just so happens to see with her binoculars 2 people on a horse. And as soon as she saw those 2 people, I immediately knew who it was going to be. And it was almost like it was meant to be. All right. And this higher earth, the world brought them together because, man, what terrible timing that Joel would just so happen to be in the circumstances. Man, it's just wrong place at the wrong time. But it was just, I guess, a matter of time for Abby was going to get what she was looking for and come across the person she's be looking for. But again, it's just like, damn, man, you always think about it. If you were 2 minutes behind or if you were early in the day, and it's always that what if thing. What if Joel would have went out with Ellie versus would have went out instead of for Dina? Or what if they went a different direction? They didn't have to go past the lounge. So many what ifs, but can't change what happens, as we'll talk about. But again, the whole episode setting up there's like a storm coming, metaphorically and literally, with the snow and everything that we're going to see with the horde, and obviously the storm being Abby to Joel a little bit later. But it's really, I don't want to, and the reason I'm going beat by beat before we get into the real nitty gritty is just an appreciation that I want to point out to the writers and the director, who Mark Boyle, I think, is the director, if I'm not mistaken. Reason I want to bring that up, I'm a big HBO fan. He is someone that's directed some of my favorite episodes and one of my favorite shows of all time. And Succession, he directed the episode. Well, I don't want to spoil anything for those that haven't seen Succession, but he's done Succession. I'm pretty confident he did some episodes of Game of Thrones, and I think he did a couple episodes of The Last of Us season 1. I bring all that up to say this was a masterful job of building tension, building the suspense. We know as an audience that something's going down, especially for those that have played the game. But for those that haven't played the game, it's building this Cassandra, this whole crisis of the threats of the infected, but the threats of the people, and it's building all these pieces. And remind you, we're only in the 2nd episode, and I thought it was just really well put together and really well constructed to build this level of uneasiness and knowing that something's around the corner that's going to change these characters' lives forever. Which like I said, I did a really good job of building that and really setting the stage for that in my eyes. So as we, again, go through the rest of the episode, Ellie and Jesse make their way outside, and they're now at the 7-Eleven, which, answers a particular question that we all had last week with Gail and her husband that Joel took away. We get a little bit of backstory, and we find out in this scene, number one, they have this 7-Eleven, this 7-Eleven with weed, shout out 420 as we're recording this. But this was a spot that Eugene set up. He patrolled with Jesse early on, so they have a bond. And as we know that Eugene supplied his wife with the best weed, unlike Joel paying Gail in weed, like we saw in episode 1. But there's a little backstory here in this conversation, and from what I understand, that Eugene wasn't a pivotal character in the video game. He was just kind of mentioned. in a pass by or mentioned on like one of those logs from the video game, but he wasn't a big character. So the show is definitely taking some creative liberties to expanding on the character. But in this conversation, it's mentioned that Eugene used to be a Firefly early, like 2010, I think was the date that Jesse said. Placing that on our timeline, 2010, the events of this show, I believe it was 2020 or 18 is when everything went down. I can't remember the exact date. Well, it went down before that. It was like 20 years ago. Either way, I'm trying to match up the timeline. 2010 is the last time that he was a part of the Fireflies, Eugene. And we know that because I'm thinking that Eugene had something to do or knew about what Joel did to the doctor, who's Abby's father, but there might be more to it. I mean, he might know. I don't know. There's not so many people that knew about the situation, but that might be something that might play out where Eugene knew what Joel did and he was going to tell someone what Joel did and Joel had to put him down because of that. But the words that Jesse uses to say that he had to put Eugene down, it made it seem like he was bitten and he had to obviously kill him because he doesn't want people to get infected by an infected. And the way that Gail spoke on Eugene last week was, I know you had to do what you had to do. So again, it sounds like, and hopefully has a good payoff, because we're talking about Eugene now. They talked about it back-to-back episodes. And again, they're expanding on Eugene character from the game to the show. So I'm hoping there's a big payoff. But it does just sound like to me like there is, Eugene was bitten. Joe had to take him out. Maybe Gail wasn't able to do it and he stepped in and do it. I don't know. I'm just very curious about this Eugene character because it seems to be a level of importance to Eugene, a level of importance of him being a Firefly. And also just going back to the theme of revenge, vengeance, hatred, guilt, regret. This is something that Gail holds over Joel. And we know Joel has a bunch of red on his hands. He has a bunch of blood on his hands. He has a conscience of killing people. So there has to be something that has to tie into thematically through this show of what's going on with Eugene. So again, I might have spent too much time with Eugene, but I am just very curious on why they're making a point to bring him up back-to-back weeks. And I would imagine that does have something to do with the, like I said, the theme of this season of violence, consequences, so on and so forth. So let me know in the comments what you all are thinking after what we figured out about Eugene in this episode, if there is going to be a bigger plot to it, or if it is just more of a thematic thing to the story. But as we gear up, now we're getting closer and closer to the main action, to the highlights of this episode. Abby, following the people she saw on the horses, she falls down the hill. She comes across this kind of, I don't know, pool of infected. And again, giving props to the show creators, people behind the show that made this episode feel so epic and cinematic. I want to give props to the production team, to the costume team, like the effects. This is television, but it feels like I'm watching a movie. I love the designs of the clickers. I love the design of them in the snow. And also I love the design of how whenever you get like a large amount of zombies all piled up, sometimes it feels like a bunch of gobbledygook. It looks like, just a smash of CGI that doesn't look clear and concise. But this episode, it was very evident, very clear to see, very, because while we're watching this during the watch party, kept feeling like Game of Thrones, right? And the episode that we've seen where there was multiple dead, the undead, and how sometimes it's kind of hard to see and it kind of didn't look that clean, but it seems like HBO, we've come a long way from the visual effects being more clean, being more concise, being easier to see and follow along with. So I do want to make sure throughout this breakdown that I do give props to the visual effects and to the creators of the show, because they really did a good job of building the design, the look, and also more importantly, the feeling of anxiety that I had while watching this episode. This is the breaking point here for me, where again, we're building, and now it's just hitting the fan. It's almost like this idea of you can't run away. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too much into it or not explaining it well, but it feels like they're running away from the problems, but it's always going to be there, right? Whether it's the humans, whether it's the infected, you can't run away from your pain. You can't run away from things you suppressed over years, and it's literally coming at them, right? The infected is like I don't know, an allegory or a metaphor of this guilt that these characters are holding, and it's going to continue to chase them, whether it's literally, metaphorically, and it all comes ahead in this episode. But again, I just want to point out that the level of anxiety was at an all-time high, and they captured that sense, because I always like to put myself in character shoes, whether they're the good guys like Joel and Dina, or in this case, Abby. I'm just imagining, what would you do if you had a herd of infected people in the snow too, and just adding that layer of, like, it's hard to run in the snow. There's ice. Obviously, you can't see no more than 5 feet in front of you with the snow coming down. So this was just a anxiety-filled episode that was captured in such a really well way, a really good way, I should say. Just beautifully done, beautifully done. At this point, Abby running to this location, this unknown location. She doesn't know if there's infected on the other side. She doesn't know what's on the other side of this fence, but all she knows is it's going to get her away from the infected. And it just, again, this felt like World War Z. If you guys have ever seen that zombie film, and how those zombies were so, the attack, the running, like, those are the type of zombies. Like, I love I love all types of different zombies, but the crazy running, out of control, clickers in this case, and infected in this case, was insane. I loved it. Obviously, as an audience member, you're like, oh, well, I hope they catch her, but you're not even really, at least I wasn't really thinking about Abby good or Abby bad, Joel good. I'm not thinking. I'm just like in anxiety in the moment, like, oh, get away, right? So they did a really good job of capturing that moment of Abby running from the clickers and trying to find a way out of the situation. They did a really good job of capturing that, and more importantly, man, this moment here, y'all, with the fence, her running against the fence, the gate starting to come out, they're reaching to get her. One of the infected's hands are going through the fence. Man, this was captured so well. Like, I was able to get the effects that the show was intended for while watching it at home, but I would have loved to have seen this or experienced this in a theater, like an IMAX theater with surround sound, just being immersed into the situation. Just seeing this on a much larger screen would have been would have enhanced experience. Like, it was just to kind of give them props. I got the feeling they were going for watching it on my television screen, but I just imagine the level of anxiety being in a theater. It would have been amazing. But nonetheless, kudos to everyone involved, cinematography, the direction. This was just, like, excellent. This was top notch. This is why HBO has always been known for television. There's nothing like HBO on a Sunday night. And man, this was just, and then again, the level. Taking Abby out of the equation, no matter how much we hate Abby tonight, again, just placing yourself in this situation. What the hell are you doing? If this was you in this scene right now, and you got the zombie infected pushing up against the fence, your face is here, snow, and you don't know what's around the corner. Like, my anxiety levels were going crazy. Kudos to, I believe this is actually from the video game, to Neil Druckmann and everyone that put this scene together, but also kudos to, the people that brought this into the live action format, and to capture that sense of fear. And then, oh man, let me put this on the screen here. When one of them broke through and they're chasing her, kudos. Well done. Well played. But as this is going down, I'm thinking to myself, please don't let her run across Joel. Joel, please look the other way. Joel, please don't save this girl. Don't save the person that's going to end up killing you. And again, wouldn't you know it? And I can, again, just going back to the idea of playing this in a video game format, I would imagine if you were the video game player, you're playing as Abby in this scene, and out of nowhere, the hero of the story, or one of the heroes, obviously Joel and Ellie, in this case Joel, comes in and saves the person that is here to kill him. That is some really, really effed up situation, but really good writing. Save the person that wants to kill you. Oh man, that's just like wrong place, wrong time. Again, it makes me think about what if he woke up late that morning, didn't go out on patrol, and then just seeing the visual moment of Joel reaching out to her, grabbing her hand, helping the person that wants to kill him. Obviously, he doesn't know it, but we know it as an audience. Man, that is just, it's messed up, man. And in the back of your head, at least in the back of my head, I'm thinking like, he just saved you. He's looking out for you. He's checking on you, making sure you're not bitten. Is there a little bit of hope? Maybe she's gonna, I don't know, not change her mind, but maybe take him hostage, maybe torture him a little bit longer, take him on this journey, and try to get through to him how much she took from him. But nah, she just, man, that's just really great writing, man. And then just thinking about it from a narrative standpoint, how he saved the person that wants nothing but to do just to kill him, to end his life, saving a life, ending a life, like that whole idea of like the circle of life situation. Man, it's just it's messed up. It's messing with my psyche, man. And knowing that this could have all been prevented, man. Oh, man. But again, you just think about it, and I love how they set this up too, because Abby has a description of Joel. She, 6 feet, handsome looking guy. He's also, the Mandalorian. He's, Reed Richards. But no, she had a description, but she doesn't, one for one, she doesn't know exactly what he looks like. So as they're in this warehouse, I'm thinking to myself, well, she doesn't know that that's Joel. I know Dina didn't know what she was doing, but this is one of those things where if she would have never said his name, eventually his name would have came up. But she says Joel, and obviously, I mean, Joel's I would say a common name, but obviously they're there looking for Joel. The chances of Joel being there, again, this is just a freaky circumstances, but she says Joel, and immediately she goes from being probably thankful, probably appreciative of someone saving her life. But as soon as Dina says Joel, demon time. Forget all that. Forget you saving me. I don't give a freak. You killed my dad, and I need to kill you. And and listen, I want to say this now. I know this show has come with an unfortunate amount of vitriol and hate, and just people being unfortunately terrible for many different reasons. Whether it's the casting of Bella, whether it's the casting of Caitlin Devers, and there's always something to hate on nowadays. But I want to give and again, it's hard to acknowledge this because we hate her right now as a character, but I want to acknowledge the acting from Caitlin Devers. I really want you all, if you ever, I know it's a tough episode to rewatch. I'm going to probably rewatch it tonight or tomorrow, but in the moment, I was able to recognize the acting talent and understanding the ability of the nuance in Caitlin Devers' performance tonight. The moments of realization, like this being one of them. A little bit later, we'll talk about the hatred we see in her eyes later. But like this moment, like coming to realize this is the guy I've been looking for. This is the guy for the last 5 years that I've been gearing up for. So filled with hate, vengeance, getting my payback on my dad. This is the moment. And she played it so well. Again, I know we hate her. I know we hate the character I'm referring to, but I just want to give kudos to Caitlin Devers. Really brought her A game tonight. And again, it brings up the whole conversation about you can have an actor that looks exactly like a character in a video game. I know even me at times, like knowing that the Abby character is built like a brick house, and knowing that plays into the character, like her being so big, she built herself that way. So it was all that years of anger and gearing up to get her revenge. But putting the physicality aside, sometimes I think most of the times you go with the actor that's best for the role. And Caitlin Devers to me tonight really showed why she was casted. Is the mental, the eyes, body language, the mannerisms was all just captured really well to me. But again, that's just me. But at this point, not giving the bad guy credit, but giving the bad guy credit, she could have spazzed out. She had the wherewithal to say to them, "Where do we go? What do we do?" Obviously, she didn't have her weapons on her, so she couldn't do anything at that moment. But she said, "Hey, I have some people. My people are up the hill. We can go hide out there and wait till the storm passes, and which is obviously the infected." So she was smart on her feet to kind of think and not to just panic and shut down. Because, you've seen those moments in movies and shows where a character has been building to coming across their enemy and they shake, they can't function, they don't know what to do, they can't even speak. But she was able, and I think that speaks to, which gets me excited to get the backstory of Abby and meet this, get to the whole Seattle situation and find out who her Jedi master was, right? This Isaac character played by Jeffrey Wright, which I'm excited to see him in the show. But I would imagine this is something he instilled in her, right? Like, no matter the situation, when you're on a mission, the mission is the number one priority. So she is focused. She's laser focused. She don't care about the fact that there's infected people out there. They almost died. She almost died. Her mission is to kill Joel, which again just makes me really excited to get more of that backstory, to see more about who she is. Now at this point, we have Tommy trying to figure out where Joel and Dina are, because the storm's coming. There's a breach potentially coming on, so they're setting that up. That Tommy and the townspeople, there's a sense of urgency again. The building up to this moment. We have Jesse and Bella having a little bit of a calm before the storm. She takes the mask and all this stuff, but they end up hearing that there is a situation at hand. Tommy, the crew are looking for Joel and Ellie. We need you guys. You guys are out there. Can you go find them? So now they're on the mission again, putting all these pieces together. We're building. And at this point, again, talk about acting. We have Bella playing Ellie, the look of realization of not only is your boo thing, your crush out there, but your father is out there, which I don't want to mention. I forgot to mention this earlier. They established early on this episode when where Ellie and Jesse are talking about Joel, that she wants to go do the patrol with Joel, but he was obviously out with Dina. She tells Jesse that they made amends the night before, which I'm assuming we're going to get that scene at some point to show the conversation, because the last time we saw Joel and Ellie, she walked right past him, but I'm assuming she turned around, and the conversation she had with him, we're going to probably see. I would imagine that's probably like I don't know if it's a season finale reveal or season 3 reveal when they had that conversation, but it's established early on that Joel and Ellie, as of right now, they've made amends. But we will have to see how that came about and what actually was said to have that level of forgiveness. Before moving on, man, let me see what you guys are talking about in the comments. Again, 209 people watching live across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Thumbs up on YouTube, thumbs up on those other platforms, share button, leave your comments below. If you have any questions for me, super chats are open that I can get to those and read them out. And if you're watching this and you aren't subscribed or follow me on those platforms you're watching me on, consider subscribing, man. We got a lot of good, cool stuff. We do this every Sunday. Watch Party, followed by an after show. And I would really love to have you guys come on this train and go on this ride with me as we break down these movies and shows that we love and adore so much. But let me see if there's any. Let me see. The fence scene was great. Yeah, it's very intense. The infected hand going through the gate was a nice horror touch, 100%. That sequel still haunts me. Because if I'm not mistaken, David Fincher was attached to direct that. And I would have loved to see a David Fincher, Brad Pitt zombie sequel to a really underrated zombie film in World War Z. This episode has been feeling some type of way. I think it has us all feeling a type of way, in a good way, right? Which is a good stamp for a good show. Brutal the first time and worse the second. Oh, you're talking about from a video game, I would imagine. Yeah, reliving that messed up moment. It's almost like Abby and Ellie are. Yeah, this is what I said last week, Vic, and this is why when I was talking about the casting of Caitlin Devers, that the backstory was when they were initially going to make this a movie, she was going to be cast as Ellie. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition, but when it came to casting Abby, the idea of being like casting someone that was going to be Ellie at one point, and to have that kind of be the mirror, the split image of like, what if Joel would have died, and what if Joel was a doctor and Ellie went on this path to get revenge to Abby and her situation. So yeah, I think it's very purposeful and it's very intentional, and I love it's not always things don't always work out when you have an actor that was going to play a character at one point and then they play the character as villain, and it plays into it, right? Because again, visually they're similar stature, referring to Caitlin Devers and Bella, and it just kind of plays to the idea of like that whole Batman Joker quote, Batman's just one bad day to becoming the Joker and what have you. So thinking about that with Abby and Ellie, and it's just went down different paths, and it could have been Ellie, So yeah, I love that kind of synergy that they have with the casting and their stories in general. So yeah, it played out really, really well. But getting back into the breakdown, now we get into the nitty gritty, the good stuff. Yeah. I will say, hold on, let me pull up this scene here because I don't want to. Let me see if I can find the exact moment. This was something that was hinted at and alluded to last week, and they addressed it this week. The infection building underneath the town, or not underneath, but in this case within their supplies, and they're throughout the underground, and they're now aware of this. Obviously, the town is a lot of things to worry about, but this is one of them, that it was somehow getting into the town. Now, does that mean people were exposed to this? Obviously, these are not functional pipelines because there's weeds all throughout it, but how frequently was this? Is there other areas throughout the town that the fungi was getting into the supplies? So did it get into the water? So on and so forth. So I do like that they continue to let us know that there is something going on underneath, in this case, at the surface level of the town, that is almost like this idea of like it's always there, right? Infected, the infection, bad people, it's always looming, right? The idea of peace being something that can last long in this particular world is something that is almost a fantasy. But getting back into the episode, look at this shot here. The horses, the herd chasing them out, the scale, the way they shot this episode, man, was just really, really cinematic. And it just did such a good job of just keeping you at this point in the episode. I was just on edge and just really immersed into the stuff that was going down, man. So many great moments. And I mean, this is just captured in such a way where it's just every which way you go, whether we're with Joel and Dina and Abby, whether we're with Jesse and Ellie trying to find them, whether we're with the people in Jackson. Like, this episode did not, once we hit a certain point, it didn't let you breathe. It just lets you know, it lets you know that there is trouble, danger in every single corner. And for those like myself that was just like, last week was fine, nothing really happened from get you on the edge of your seat besides the character development. But this episode was like, oh, just wait, we got something for y'all. Man. And also shout out to, I always want to give props to, again, being a Walking Dead fan, the actors and actresses that play the infected. And these are not just a bunch of CGI gobbledygook. Like, these are people in hair and makeup to give us the sense of scope and scale. And this shot here, again, a lot of Game of Thrones vibes tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Very much captured that sense of fear and that sense of there is going to be a lot of loss in this episode, which we saw. So at this point, the herd is making its way, causing chaos. Tommy, Marie said they, not goodbyes, but the town people are getting prepared, hiding in the basement, closing the doors, getting the guns ready, taking their positions on the fences, on the gates, getting the torches ready. Like, it's going down. It is going down. And shout out to Tommy, man, getting the people of Jackson. Like, again, I feel like I was watching Braveheart watching Game of Thrones, watching those epic war movies where, issues about to hit the fan and you feel like you're on the wall with these people, and Tommy Jackson Hole, getting them all prepared because this might be the last time they might see each other, see their family and friends. And man, great job. Great job to the show. Great job to the show, man. It felt like we were on the wall with Jon Snow back in the day when Game of Thrones was able to capture these levels of anxiety. And we see, man, I really wish I could play it on screen, but you guys saw the episode, but I'm going to put some screen grabs up here in a second. But they're getting the barrels ready. The infected, the horde is getting on the wall. They're getting their guns ready. And again, the strategy, I will, no disrespect to the Jackson people. I think their defenses could have been a little bit more tight, whether it was spikes, explosions on the outer rim of when you reach a certain point, or like trip lines on certain points of the fence. It could have been a little bit more, I'm not trying to be mean, but you've had years of building, you're building all these houses inside, but you could have, spent a little of that energy outside and build a little bit better defenses. But, Gail, the Gail character, she is inside, that's Catherine O'Hare. If Kevin McAllister was a resident of this Jackson town, he definitely would have had to place booby trapped up. Anyway, going back to the seriousness of this moment, I love the battle strategy. The good idea that they did have was they have these barrels filled with gasoline. They have these slides for the barrels to go in. They shoot the barrels. And even though I think the defenses were slightly, I would give it a C for a grade level on the defense level. But the idea is smart. The barrels shooting the gas, throwing the torches out there, and the explosion, like that's smart. That is smart. Even though I think it could have been a little bit better before you got to that point. But that was a really cool thing to see. And again, not to keep harping on this, but man, I wish I could have saw this in the theater to really get that, to see these levels of explosions and levels of chaos and destruction. Man, again, kudos to the entire team that brought this episode together. Like, I would imagine when they shot this was probably one of the rough days, the long days, to really put this all together and to coordinate the whole situation, from a visual effects department to the production to the practical effects. Because man, great job across the board. I'm trying to bring up some screenshots here, just trying to capture the moment. Man, this was a hell of an episode. Action packed, anxiety packed, emotional packed. This will probably go down as one of the best episodes of this series thus far. Obviously, we have the rest of the season, another season ahead, maybe some other ones ahead, but this was one of those, where were you at when the episode 2 Through the Valley showed? And those that were in the watch party say, hey, I was on MovieFiles. We watched it. No, they did a hell of a job capturing this sense of chaos and capturing this sense of dread and fear and anxiety. Good job. Great job. Again, this is why we all pay $300 a month for HBO Max, for shows like this, for moments like this. They need that extra money to give us these great visual effects that they gave us tonight. But as everything is going down, the shit's hitting the fan in Jackson. Again, going back to the big stuff to the small, intimate stuff, the more personal stuff of violence. We have Dina, Joel, Abby, literally, just look at that visual. Abby's behind him. It's just like, Joel, kick her off the horse, man. If you only knew, if you could look in the future. But his mind now is more, he's focused on his family, his home, his, Tommy, Ellie, and all the people that he's grown to love and like and care for. His home, the thing he fights for, the thing that keeps him alive, is being attacked. So now there's a level of, I want to say, I think him knowing that his town, his people, the people he cared for, are under attack, might have clouded his judgment in regards to trusting this stranger that he just saved. Because I'm thinking about last week, Joel, talking to Maria, and they were having the conversation about letting people into the town. And he's like, there's a point in time that we have to care for our own. We can't keep letting these people in, these strangers. And it seems to kind of backfired on him, because he ended up saving someone. Again, it kind of shows you that Joel has been a changed man ever since meeting Ellie and losing his daughter Sarah, and just, now having that level of sympathy and empathy for people. But if this was the old Joel, I wonder if he would have went through these levels of care for Abby in this case. But again, I'm going back to just his mindset is like, my family, I need to take care of them. We need to get to them. But then Abby again, and you see Caitlin Deavers on the screen now. No, because he's like, we need to go back no matter what. But he's like, no, let's just go to the lounge, regroup. We got our people. They got guns. We can strategize when we get there. And I think number one, if she wasn't there, Joel's going head on to the middle of the war no matter what, because he cares that much as his family. But then Abby is like the literal definition of like the devil on your shoulder. Abby's like, no, don't worry about that right now. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. And again, if she wasn't there, and if he wasn't under this pressure, or being under this situation, maybe he would have thought it out more. Maybe he would have said no. But unfortunately, she was able to convince him to continue to go down that path of his grave, his last moments. So again, great writing, put a character in a situation where they're literally caught between a rock and a hard place. And we see that play out. Back at Jackson, bodies burning, bullets flying, and shout out to Tommy leading the force. But then, unfortunately, they're noticing that the herd is going towards another side of the fence, a more vulnerable side. They're going close to the heart of the town. And let me just bring this up here, just kind of again show the appreciation of just the visuals of this episode. We see them running towards a vulnerable spot of the gate. And if Ish wasn't already bad, clickers, stalkers, all the different variations, there is a thing that is just as, if not more terrifying. I would say it's probably the most terrifying iteration or variation of the disease infected, and that's a bloater. We saw one last season. We saw how crazy scary they are and how hard they are to kill. And again, I can dig in my bag here because I played the first game. Whenever a bloater was around, I like to play my level. I like to play hard level, the toughest level in the game. I'm getting PTSD just thinking about when I used to play the game, trying to take out a bloater and how you got to try to throw a cocktail at them, try to throw stuff at them. It's a lot. It's a lot. So, but again, if you haven't played the game, you remember from season 1 the level of how hard it is to take them down and how much chaos they can create. So this just lets you know, again, this episode is just leveling up constantly. It's just getting worse and worse and worse, and literally banging on the doors. Tommy is realizing, I gotta kick into action. We gotta go. Okay, that was level 1. Level 2, he's got his crew. They got the torches, looking like like the Ghostbusters, getting everything ready to go. And again, Tommy showed a lot of potential in this episode. I already was a fan of Tommy, but what I mean by showing potential, he's showing his leadership skills. Because I don't know if this town was had the right mindset to get everything together in this moment as well as Tommy did. And I love the little moment, Tommy and Marie, acknowledging each other. Like, we're gonna get through this. This is gonna be tough, but we're gonna fight for our family. We know they got a kid, and they also got their family they've grown to love over these years. And man, again, kudos to HBO, not shortchanging the crew of The Last of Us, giving them the money they need to pull off such a feat of tonight's episode on a lot of different fronts. At this point, the herd is in their home. And look at this. This almost, again, getting back to my Game of Thrones comparisons. This reminded me of when Jon Snow, the Battle of the Bastards episode with Ramsey, and when the horses and the army was coming towards them. And it's just like, some of them I'm gonna put some of them ran away. Some of the guys was like, man, fuck, get this. Yeah, let me pull it up here. There's a guy you already see. It was 4 of them up there, or 5 of them up there, and it's only two now. But Tommy, my guy, doing that Jon Snow and just seeing like, all right, I'm fighting for what I love and fighting for this town. And those guys dipped out, man. I guess they might be single or they just don't give a F. But at this point, the zombies or the infected going through the bakery, busting through the walls, trying to get into the basement where these families are. They eventually make their way up the stairs. We see them, again, Marie doing her thing, the people on the roof doing their thing, trying to take out as many as possible. And the action, man, I don't know. It speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. How they was able to capture the action and these really well put together moments of well choreographed action moments. Like this is why we pay $400 a month for HBO to get these really well put together action beats. And again, shout out to the director really capturing the action really well. And again, we got bodies hitting the ground, bloaters. Marie sees the bloater and the bloater sees Marie, and Tommy tries to distract the bloater, which he ultimately does. Again, just showing his level of care, and he trying to distract the bloater. Follow me, come at me, and man, this is just really, really well done. I'm really looking forward to rewatching this episode to just really immerse myself and not worry about all the story stuff. Just really take it all in and really appreciate the level of excellence that they gave us in this episode of capturing just intensity at the highest level possible. At this point, y'all, Tommy he's able to distract the bloater from focusing on their attention on Marie, and unfortunately for him, he finds his way in the alley, 1v1 versus a bloater with the torch, and my man Tommy is just like, hey, F it, it's either me or you, and I got a family to take care of. He's letting it all out. He's noticing, we see that the pack is going out. It's not really causing that much damage. Again, for my game fans and also people that watch season 1, we know how hard these bloaters are to take out. It's really not doing that much damage at first. But again, him letting loose, letting it all go. Eventually, we see the after facts that he did manage to kill. Because at this point in the episode, I'm thinking, Tommy's about to die, bro. But again, I'll pull it up here. Shout out to Tommy. Showed a level of leadership, showed a level of care, showed a level of, he leveled up. Like I said, he would his Jon Snow bag and just like, I don't care how many of you all infected are coming at me, a bloater coming at me, you will not take down take down the city or take down this town, take down my family. He fought. Shout out to Tommy in this episode, man. Really, really, really came to play ball. Now, for my game fans out there, correct me if I'm wrong, I think all of this stuff that we just talked about, that we just broke down, I believe is all new stuff. Because again, I've seen the cut scene of this episode of what happens later on that we're going to talk about here in a bit. But I remember Tommy being in the room with Joel. Like Tommy was like, a lot of this stuff played out the same. Like they were split up. He was with Dina. But Tommy ended up finding them. But that did not happen in tonight's episode. So, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think them showing us this level of survival, the level of skills from Tommy, really opens up the idea and the door to, we're going to lose a big pivotal hero in Joel, obviously. And we're witnessing, I don't say his replacement, because obviously that's big shoes to fill, but the idea of like, you remove this one big major player. A lot of you all said during the watch party and during tonight's live show, a Ned Stark type of a character in Joel. Who do you replace that character with, right? And in my analogy, and like you guys mentioned Game of Thrones, it was you remove Ned Stark to allow like a Jon Snow to be more important to the story. Rob Stark became a little bit more the lead of the show at a certain point once Ned was gone. So Tommy being that Robb Stark, Tommy being that Jon Snow, essentially being the leader and showing us as the audience that he's very capable of leading his people and defending his people. So I think that's, if what I'm saying is right or wrong, could let me know. But I feel like all this added Tommy stuff, facing a bloater, staying in town, holding down the fort, is to show us as an audience that he's very capable of protecting his own. But speaking of protection, during the watch party, I'm a dog. My dog's literally right here. When they let the dogs out of the game, I'm like, I'm a dog guy. I love dogs. But what the hell are these dogs going to do to these infected? I spoke too soon. These dogs went to work. They went to work, biting out jugulars and taking down these infected. Yeah. Shout out to the dogs out there. Who let the dogs out. They went ham. So shout out to the trainers of Jackson to train these dogs to be killing them. I think they were canines that were going to work. All right. Now it's time to get serious. So as we approach the final 15 minutes, by the way, those watching live, thank you. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Those listen to podcasts as well, because this will be in podcast form. Do all that good stuff too. Now we're approaching the last 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes or so of the episode. Joel, Dina are now in the lion's den. Again, if circumstances weren't so extreme, maybe Joel's instinct would have been a little bit more present to maybe realize the sense of something's not right. Something's not right. Who are you guys? Why are you in our lounge? Like, why are you in the lounge? What were you doing? How long have you been here? Like, it would have been a little bit more apprehension to Joel just blindly trusting this person and going to a lounge where she let him know we got guns, we got weapons. But again, as we see on the screen, Joel's mind is elsewhere. I think all of his instinctual gut feelings on lack of trusting strangers was kind of sidelined because his main focus was on his family, the people of the town of Jackson. Unfortunately, that level of oversight, or being able to not really pay attention to who you're around, like I said, unfortunately led him into the lion's den. Now at this point, Dina's hand, she's got a little bit of frostbite, but then she notices, and again, this is all new to me. I haven't played the game. She notices this WLF, which I assume was an acronym for the picture wolf. It might be something else, but they seem to be like another faction similar to the Fireflies, I would imagine. But there might be like a level of, they're not as good as Fireflies potentially, or they have different intentions and they train under different circumstances. And again, we hear a little bit about their moral code about not killing someone that's defenseless. So again, something to look forward to. Again, something that I'm intrigued to learn more about is this WLF wolf situation, if that is the acronym for what they stand for. But again, Dina recognizes this. She starts to question it. But again, Joel's like, whatever. Hey, Jackson. She's calling people at Jackson, trying to get a hold of them. Unfortunately, Abby introduces her crew. This is Dina. Help them out. Take care of them. And the guy on the walkie-talkie is Joel. And the way they played that was just so, the sense of, they were very welcoming and helped them, attend to them. But then again, I know a lot of you all, we're supposed to hate her, not for personal reasons or reasons of hating an actress that we never will meet, but I'm referring to hating the character Abby. We're supposed to hate the character, but I still want to acknowledge the acting, the performance by Caitlin Devers in this moment. She hits the switch, man. She goes from being someone that needed saving. She got saved. She's helping Joel and Dina out. At least in their mind, they think that they're helping him out. But that switch from kind of help me, I need your help, to you're about to die. And she's, they got the guns out. They're telling Joel that we're not going to hurt Dina if you listen to our orders. If not, we're not only going to kill her, obviously we want to kill you. But, and again, this just goes back to Joel, maybe prior to Ellie, before he became this father, the pseudo father to Ellie. He would have been like, kill her. I don't care. But obviously him and Dina have built this relationship. He does care for Dina. Obviously there's a level of care for her in her life and her well-being. And this whole time, I can't remember the character's name, but she seems to be the one of the group that seems to be the least aggressive. The one that sticks Dina in the arm with a very quick hitter that could put her to sleep. And they're like, we're going to put her to sleep. Again, I like that the show, even though we know that Abby and her crew are the quote unquote bad guys, but there's still a level of like, these aren't the quintessential bad guys. There's a level of humanity there, right? Not all of them are like, yeah, gun ho. Like, if this was like, I'm thinking of like The Walking Dead. If this was that group that Rick and them came across, those cannibals or the governor or, Negan at a certain point, like there's no sympathy. There's no, patch them up. We're going to slightly put you under rest. We're not going to kill you, literally permanently put you to rest. We're just going to put you to rest so you don't have to witness what's going to happen. So there's a level of, again, they're not all evil, but they obviously have bad intentions. But again, you get a sense that they're not all on the, I don't say the same page, because they're there to do one thing, which is having Abby get her revenge. But there seems to be like, there's going to be tension. There's going to be more tension within this group of Abby. And I would imagine that's going to be a big part or something to pay attention to as the season goes by. But again, Abby this is the moment she's been waiting for. She's talking her stuff to Joel, like, hey, do you know who we are? Do we look? Is there any thing that you gather from our way that we're carrying ourselves? He says military, and and they give a little backstory. They come from Seattle. They used to be Fireflies, but the Fireflies are no longer anymore. Joel made sure of that, took out the most of them in that finale. And then obviously, again, full transparency, the big thing I knew about part 2 was that obviously Joel was going to die, but also that the person that Joel killed, the doctor, which happened to be her father, that we saw obviously from the beginning of this episode. And obviously in episode 1, we saw that there was a grave, and there was a personal connection she had with one of the people in the grave, and we find out it was her father. At that point, I think Joel is starting to realize there's a level of acceptance that he realized that there's probably no way out of this, as he even says later, like, are you going to get this over with? Which is a classic Joel line. Like, that is such a Joel thing to say. And I think he came to a level to accept that this is the end of the line for him. But as Abby says to him, you're not going to rush this. You're not going to speed up this process that I've been waiting for the last 5 years. And again, y'all, I did not anticipate the show doing this. Oh, and also, by the way, she shoots him in the leg with a shotgun just in case he wants to pull a slick move. Shoot someone in the knee with a shotgun. It's pretty hard to be mobile. And she's just, there's a level of, I talked about there's a level of humanity of these people. But at this point, I think that level, at least in Abby, is completely gone. She is obviously at this point, she's revealing who they are, where they come from, and why you are here. She looks Joel in the eye, face to face. And like I said, you guys know what happens at this point. She tells him the importance of who that person was that she killed. And we even get a flashback in that moment of him doing the deed. And again, I think there's like at least how I read the scene, that there's a level of acceptance from Joel. Like, yeah, it was just a matter of time before, I mean, not that particular situation, but before something, a bad decision will catch up to him. And again, man, I can't ignore the acting prowess from Caitlin in this episode. We love Joel. It doesn't hurt that we're, I would say for the most part, Pedro's a really likable actor. At least I will speak for myself. I think he seems to be like a person of full of light and hope and happiness, and just seems like a cool guy in general. So there's a level of that. But putting that aside for a second and trying to, I always try to do this with any movie or show I'm watching. It's just like, all right, put yourself in this character's shoes and seeing that the pain in her eyes right now. And obviously, I don't know if we're going to ever see her and her dad have a flashback scene. This is kind of show, how important he was. I mean, you get the sense if she's going through all this trouble to get one guy, there has to be a level of this was her everything. Her father meant everything to her, but who's to say we might see a scene between them or whatnot. But that level of pain in her eyes, imagine if this was Ellie, right? We talked about how Caitlin Devers was initially cast as Ellie to be in the Last of Us movie 10 plus years ago. And there's a synergy to the casting of her. Like, this is the other side of Ellie. But imagine if this was Ellie and this was Abby killed Joel 5 years ago, or Abby killed Marie or Dina, or, Abby killed, someone really close to her. And that pain and that level of anger and being like, this is payback for what Joel did to her 5 years ago, took the world from her. So, and again, this is what the story, at least from what I gather so far, about what revenge and anger and hate and pain can lead to, as she sees the club, the golf club off to the side, and she tells him, there's a level of hate and pain and anger that when you kill someone at this level of anger, right? She could have just shot him in the head. She could have fed him to him. She could have stabbed him. Easy. But she wanted to sit in this. She wanted to live in this. She wanted to really make sure that those 5 years that she's been waiting for this moment was 5 years worth it. So she gets a club. She starts hitting them in the leg. And if I'm not mistaken, this is where my video game fans come in and help me with this. I think the whole time in the game, she just hits them with the club over and over. And I think they cut between what we see like they do in this episode. Ellie's making her way. She finds the lounge. She goes throughout the house. She finds them. But again, I think the game, she's just boom, boom, bashing them, hitting them over, constantly hitting them over. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. And I think this is an added thing to the show. And it makes it maybe a little bit more personal. As you all can see on the screen now, Abby's punching him. Right? I know there was a big complaint, and we talked about it earlier, about the physicality of Caitlin Dever. She didn't, bulk up like the video game version of Abby. But you put that bulk up aside and just see someone leveling, just going in and just boom, 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 punching them. That level of personal, vitriol, and that personal level of like punching someone with every ounce of anger you have. I don't want to step out of line because I haven't played the game, but I just feel like this is almost more personal than the game, right? Of just bashing him over the head, like Negan bashing Abraham and Glenn with, Lucille. There's like a level of like I'm obviously doing this, but it's the bad, right? But when you physically choke or punch and you're there, that's more personal to me. Because the weapon is almost like there's like a detachment to it. It's like a separation. There's like a level of like that's separating you from that person. But when you start punching someone, that's a level of hate that's deep, rooted deep in anger. So again, I might be speaking out of my ass, but I'm pretty confident because I've seen the cutscene that the show wanted to make this more personal. And again, the show wanted to put us in Abby's shoes. Episode 1, we open the show with Abby. We see her grieving as we find out as her father. We open this episode with Abby, with her having the PTSD of that day of finding her father's brains on the ground. And the level of helplessness that her father had of just being shot by this guy without reason, cause of reason. Obviously, we know why Joel did that. He was saving Ellie, and he killed the doctor because the doctor was the only one that could extract what he needed from Ellie, right? He knows how to maybe synthesize the cure and all that. So killing the doctor was key. Obviously, has consequences. But again, going back to the personal punching, Caitlin Deaver's just wailing on him. Ellie walks in the room, and I think this is pretty much shot for shot. Ellie walks in the room, they take the gun and beat her or get her down. She cuts, I don't know, Owen, I think that might be his name. I'm not familiar with all the names of the crew, but she cuts not Manny Ramirez, but Falcon. I can't think of the actor's name right now. I know it's something Ramirez. Danny Ramirez. She cuts him, and he seems to be like, talked about the levels of the different characters. Some of them seem nicer is the word. Some of them seem a little bit more level-headed than others, but he was pissed when Ellie cut him, like calling her a B word and about to shoot her, not knowing who she is. So he seems to have a little bit more hatred towards just the whole situation. Everyone else was a little bit more reserved and a little bit like taken aback by this whole situation. But at this point, y'all, hopefully this doesn't give you too much PTSD, but we see Joe beaten and Ellie screaming, "Get up, Joe, get up, get up, get up." And, like I said, my mind went to Glenn, right? Being hit in the head by Lucille. I just popped your eye out. But there's that level of hopelessness and just, again, putting yourself in a position, these characters, like all she knows from, they had their issues, obviously their tension they had, but all she sees is her dad, her pseudo dad. And this man who's always been the hero, saved her, had been through a lot. He's always overcome, got stabbed in his stomach in the finale, been shot at, come this close to death, but always figures out a way. Joe always finds a way. Not this time. Not this time. It caught up to him. It caught up to him, and she's just screaming, "Get up, get up!" And there's a moment there too. I think he tries, obviously you get hit over the head with a golf club, and you're getting punched in the face relentlessly. You're all over the place. You're scrambled. Your brains, your mind, like you're not functioning properly. But again, I go back to like when Glenn was hitting the head, and he was able to, and it's like a moment when there's a connection there, where he kind of is functioning. And from what I remember from the cutscene from the game, they're in a rush to get out of there because I think they're in a rush in a video game because they think, again, Tommy's in there. Again, this is a difference from the video game and the show. I haven't played it, but I've seen remembering the cutscene. Tommy's there, Dina's there, Ellie's there, Joel's obviously beaten down. They are trying to rush out of there because they're under the assumption that more people are going to try to find them. But there was a sense of urgency in this episode from the herd, and also, there could be someone coming, but there wasn't. There was a big change here. From what I remember, Abby, one more, she just boom hits him, and it's like the final blow. But a major change in the episode is the club's broken. And let me find the scene here. And again, I've been giving praise and praise. We didn't spend a ton of time with Ellie in this episode from like a character narrative perspective, but this, just as much praise I'm giving, Caitlin, I got to give that to Bella, especially with all the unnecessary hate she's been getting. But either way, she shows us why she was cast in this role, because I felt Ellie's pain right there and looking into the helplessness in this moment. Joel, get up, and just nothing she can do. There's nothing she can do, right? All the, we saw her training last week, and we know she's capable and can hold her own, but nothing she can do in this moment. And if you were watching me live, man, I teared up in this moment. You probably couldn't see because a little bit further back. But yeah, man, I think as you all can see on the screen now, this to me, I don't want to underplay how people felt when they experienced this moment in a video game, but I'm only speaking to my feelings of seeing this on the screen now and having seen the cutscene from the video game. This is, again, more, to me, this comes off more personal than the video game. Her punching him, but then stabbing him in the neck with the golf club. That close up, that personal, like, I killed the man that killed my father. And right in the neck. That's the show writer saying, hey guys, I know you guys played the video game, you know what's to come, and you have the emotions you've been living with for the past 5 years, but we're gonna give y'all something different. We're not gonna only give the first time watchers that are experiencing this for the first time, like myself, a new experience, but we're gonna give you a new experience. And they stab Joel in the neck. And again, Ellie in the room, she sees this, and I think, I know there's the jokes out there, Pedro's and everything. I mean, good for him. I've been following Pedro for a long time as I admire his career. I was a Buffy fan. I remember when he was on Buffy for an episode. He was a small character, background character. He's been acting for a long time, man. And of course, he's been in and out of the industry, and then come back on the scene with Game of Thrones, popping up in, Kingsman, and, his career. To me, this is like the biggest, obviously, of his career. Mandalorian, Fantastic Four, obviously this. And I think you cast someone like Pedro because, again, I feel like everyone loves Pedro. So when you see it, I mean, again, what I'm getting at here is you cast someone in that role that can obviously play the ruthlessness, the coldness of Joel that we've seen in season 1 throughout the video game or the first one. But then you cast someone like Pedro because that's America's sweetheart. Everyone loves Pedro, man. And you see him on the ground, lifeless, with the thing in his neck, and he's dead. Again, I was under the impression they were going to save this mid-season. Hell, I was under the impression they were going to do this is a season finale cliffhanger. Nope. Episode 2, they take out Joel, and the roles have reversed. This 5 years that Abby's been on this path of vengeance and hate and revenge, she now passes that on to Ellie. We are, again, I'm assuming, that I haven't played the game, but I'm assuming the way that we move the story forward, and they even show this in the trailer with Ellie training and punching and shooting, that trauma has been passed on to someone else. And again, there are certain beats that I know moving forward, but now I'm pretty much in the cold now. I'm pretty much in the dark as far as what to expect. As this episode set up, I'm going to imagine I'm going to meet Isaac, Seattle, learn more about Abby, her crew, learn about the WLF or whatever that acronym was with the wolf on the bag, learn more about the because we do see the people from Jackson were able to survive the herd. Tommy survived, Maria survived, Jesse, obviously, they take the body of Joel, and Dina's alive, and Ellie's alive. But I would imagine, I don't know if it's going to be a big time jump. Like, we got the 5-year time jump between season 1 and season 2. I don't know if we're going to go 6 months later. Hell, a year later. I don't know if there's going to be a big jump. But I'm going to imagine, if I was a show writer and if I was writing the story, I want to live in these moments with Ellie. I want to see those moments where she's reliving the day that Joel died. I want to see her building herself back up to, I know she's going to go down this path of revenge, but maybe we see a different outcome. But either way, as we wrap up, and this is live, we're going to continue to have, if you guys have any questions, what have you, but just wrapping up this portion of the video, the breakdown. Overall thoughts, 10 out of 10, no notes. It did such a great job of capturing the scope and scale of what was going on with the herd and going on with the infected. It captured the scope and scale of tension, suspense, anxiety driven. It took me out of the moments of like Ellie going through the fence and not even putting two and two together of like, yeah, I want her to die. Like, no, I want to see her navigate her way out. Like, did a good job of being in the moment. But then all that stuff is great. But then the emotions that was able to be captured tonight of seeing the death of Joel, even though I knew it was eventually coming, but it's about the execution, pun intended, as he's executing this episode. But I thought that they did a really good job of painting out that moment. And from what I know about the game, Joel's death, and obviously how the show did it, the little nuances, the little switches, again, the personal, the beating, Abby punching him, the stabbing in the neck, little changes like that to make it more, like I said, more personal was a nice touch and a great episode. It's going to be hard to, it's great to get an episode like this so early on in the season, but can you recapture that later in the season, And the big question is, as we'll talk about in the live stream, not knowing the story, how does this story handle the absence of Joel? I'm pretty confident that we're going to get flashbacks to kind of fill in the blanks, not only from Joel and Pedro being on the show, but also to fill in the blanks from the 5-year gap from season 1 to season 2. We're going to probably see what they've done throughout the years. We're going to find out about Eugene, obviously, and then obviously the 5-year flashback for Abby in Seattle and Isaac. But as far as the narrative moving forward, the present storyline, how does the show handle the absence of a character like Joel? Tommy coming in as a leader, Ellie being on this path of vengeance. What does that mean for Dina? And so on and so forth. So as we put a conclusion to the breakdown that I'm going to put up tomorrow, leave your thoughts in the comments. Consider liking the video. Consider subscribing to the channel. And I'll see you all next week. For my live people, let's keep the conversation going for a little bit. We're going to probably wrap up here. This wasn't a lot longer than I anticipated. But hey, sometimes I just talk. I just get into the zone. But drop any questions. I'm trying to catch up to the chat. I'm going to read this probably tonight just to see what you guys are talking about. But if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, drop your scores on a scale of 1 to 10, or if you rate movies or shows on a grading scale, A to B, C, D, F, like, let me know what you all thought about it. And what do you all hope to see moving forward? Let me know. But let me see. Life for a life. It's effed up, poetic at the same time. This is like from almost an hour ago. I'm trying to catch up to these comments. Episode 3 is one of the best storytellings I've ever seen. Episode 3. Oh, you're talking about season 1, Justin, with Frank and I'll say Bill. Was that their names? If that's what you're referring to, yeah, I thought that was such a beautiful episode. I might just have to, because you guys lost some great comments here. If I go through each one, we might be here for another hour. But let me see. Tommy stood on business. I agree. Poor Tommy. I was scared for Tommy. I agree. Tommy 10 toes down. Yeah, he was straight Rambo. Best episode of the series so far. Remind me of, yeah, like I said, there's a lot of Game of Thrones reliving those crazy moments. The dogs reminded me of the dire wolves. Yeah, good call, Kevin. We will be seeing Pedro a lot. Yeah, I mean, and look, shout out to him, sticking with acting, doing supporting roles, 3rd on the call list to now being number 1 on the call list. That's what you hope to do after when you put in all that work, man, whether you're an actor, a doctor, a lawyer, a parent. You just want to get better and hope the opportunities present itself that you can use those skills that you've been perfecting over the years and get the opportunities that I think he deserves, man. I think he's a great actor. I think he's, again, I don't know him, but he seems to be an even better person in real life. So you always root for people to, get what they deserve as far as getting the opportunities. And so far, I've yet to see a bad Pedro performance. But yeah. Let's see. 9.5, an A, 10 out of 10, 9.5. Hit me in the feels. Yeah, I'm right there. Like I said, 10 out of 10 for me. Let's see. I had frustration watching this. Like when you scream at the character not to do something in a horror movie. Yeah, he deserved to die. And yeah. Well said, Justin. Well said. Well, we're coming up on 3 hours, and I'm a sports fan. I'm a Warriors fan, so I haven't been looking at my phone. I'm gonna try to watch the game from the beginning. So I don't know what the score is if you're any NBA fans out there. So I'm gonna watch that tonight while editing for the video to come out tomorrow. But thank y'all, man. Week 2, very successful. No hiccups, no technical difficulties. So hopefully we can keep that going for next week. But thank y'all for those that watched the watch party and hopped on to the after show, or for those that are just here for the after show. I appreciate y'all. Things you can watch on the channel now while we wait till next week. This was Sinners Weekend. So I have a spoiler-free review of that film, which I very much enjoyed. I have almost an hour discussion breaking down the film, and I might have another Sinners video in me, to get into some more conversations about all the different symbolism and meanings and things that might be something I might be cooking in a couple weeks, because as we gear up for this week leading up to episode 3, I will be reviewing You. If you guys have been following the channel for a while, that is my guilty pleasure show. Joel Goldberg, the final season of You is dropping on Friday, I believe. I've already watched some of the episodes, but I'll be gearing up for that breakdown later in the week. There's hopefully a great film, but a film it was on my most anticipated of the year, Havoc. The Gareth Evans, the director of The Raid 1 and 2, arguably the greatest action movies ever made, the martial arts movies I've ever seen. He's directing that, starring Tom Hardy and Forrest Whitaker and a bunch of great actors. That comes out, so I'm hopefully going to check that out this week and give you all my thoughts on that film. And is there another movie? I think there's a screening for something that I can't remember, but either way, man, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification to keep up with all that stuff. And like I said, we'll be back next Sunday with a watch party and the after show followed by that. And Thunderbolts and a bunch of stuff to look forward to in the coming weeks. So I'm excited, man. Let me see any final comments before we wrap it up. Kevin says, this puts me so much pressure moving forward. Yeah. Thank you. This was great. Bye, y'all. Thank you. Look forward to more Sinners. Yeah, man. What a film. But we're going to call it a night. Before you head out, hit that like button. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I will be re-uploading this, a more edited version of the breakdown tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, maybe, because I'll be watching the game after this. But thank y'all, man. Happy Easter for those that celebrate. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a great week. I'll see you guys sooner rather than later. All right, y'all.